And for round number 4 here of our Modern RCQ here, I'm Kyle Posignose, and I'm joined by Matt Zhu here. So, a little bit of a caster rotation here. Tom's taking a little bit of a break, so I'm going to step in here and basically fill in the shoes. But Hammertime deck at all? But looks like we're in game right now, so got a Fluttershy plate from Brian Wang here, and it's a little past go.
I do think so. You know, I think maybe if Brian, for instance, only had like a single prismatic ending as his removal spell, if Joel was on a full 7, you might not consider removing, say, an Esper Sentinel or Giver of Runes because those creatures don't necessarily contribute to Hammer winning that well. But on a multi-5, take your 1-for-1s when you can get it.
Let's see. So it looks like we are going to see a fetch Underseaser here coming out from Brian Wing here. So hopefully he can maybe get a Ulamog or a Traxa in the graveyard here, which we're probably made before there's a bin this Goryo, which means probably have another hand, which we do, and a pass go from Brian missing land number 2.
One lander. Okay, okay. This is an opportunity for Joel. I don't believe most Hammer players play Graveyard Hate in the main deck, so the Urza Saga probably isn't going to fetch anything here. Super relevant to stop Brian. They'll probably just go grab a Hammer.
Yeah, so we're going to have a Stormform Bridge come out here from Joel. You most likely maybe might see a Nettlecyst come out, or maybe even a Shadow Spear. But it's kind of a weird choice, I would say, because I don't think the deck even runs Cauldron anymore, does it?
Do they not run Cauldron anymore?
I've seen a couple lists not running Cauldron. I'm not too sure, but we're actually going to get the Shadow Spear here from the Stoneforge Mystic, which probably means we are going to play a little bit more of the longer game here with our life, especially since we miss another land drop for Brian here.
Okay. So Joel probably has a Hammer in hand. That's the only reason to grab the Shadow Spear there, I think. So
Saga is going to take up the 2.
the question here is whether Joel is going to try to win with these constructs. And
We're just going to swing in for 1 here instead. You're going to go down to 18. Brian's signing Pasco, so probably make a couple contracts. Looks like it is a Hammer in hand for Joel. This is where you probably want to be with that Hammer and Shadow Spear. And I'm not too sure what the other card is. So it looks like a Mystical Archive card from Strixhaven. Oh, but we finally find that land drop that you were waiting for on Brian's side, going down to 16. And Pasco here. And we'll make a contract instead for Joel.
so it does look like if Brian is just passing here, Brian probably has the Tainted Indulgence. I did see a Gristlebrand in hand and a Goryo, so Brian can sort of go off next turn. Joel might have enough power so that Gristlebrand won't be able to draw Brian cards before combat, but we'll see here. Joel's fetching here.
Yeah, so Joe's going to be making another contract, and going to be fetching off of that Urza Saga here. Most likely probably getting that Lava Spirit Bots to give the other contract haste and swing in for a little chunk of damage. But let's see what she is going to grab, and looks like it's going to be that Lava Spirit Boot. So, looks like we're finishing, what, facing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage this turn?
6, 7, 8, yeah. It looks like 8 currently if Joel has nothing else. Although Joel does need to have a land to equip the boots.
Well, I think she has plenty of lands in hand from what I see. Looks like double planes. Actually, man's not be too much of a problem right now, but also not what you really want to see on Joel's side if you're trying to flat out a little bit.
Yeah, that's a lot of lands. So has another Stoneforge, has a Shadow Spear.
Has a Hammer as well. Let's see what Joel wants to play here, because there's another combat, and it just swing with just a little bit of damage. So we can take, what, 4 damage here, going down to 12, and we're going to cast that Tainted Indulgence you did talk about Brian having here. And what is Joel going to do here? Is that a Mana Tithe? Ooh, it could be a Mana Tithe.
Is this a Mana Tithe? Is this actually...
Oh my goodness!
What? So that is the one card...
That's brutal.
That's the card in hand that we could not see. What? It's a Mana Tithe or Mana Tithe? I forgot.
Mana Tithe.
Oh, it's Mana Tithe. So, Mana Tithe here, not really, I think it's probably like a 1-up in this deck. Not really something that you see too often in the Hammer deck here, but that's such a good card to have in that moment where we're just going to take the Indulgence now as source speed for Brian and not discard the Atraxa here. So next turn we do have our Gorgeous, but this turn we could potentially see lethal.
So she has 8 at least on board by equipping the lava spur boots. If you play hammer, that's 10. So she needs one more artifact to have lethal.
So we're gonna play the Colossus Hammer here. And you have a Shadowspear come out, so we are gonna have a little bit more of
So
a
that's
larger
10. Wait,
construct.
okay, so that's 12 right there.
Yeah.
As long as she equips,
Lava Spur Boots
Yeah.
and Shadowspear. Oh no.
she can only equip one.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so it's-
exactly 12. Wow.
Joel taking game
Manatide.
1 with a Manatide, which is slightly just a 1-up in the deck.
Oh my gosh, Manatide. That's
Who
crazy.
thought Manatide in 2024 will get there, but also as well on Brian's winning side. A little bit unfortunate how it turned the game played out. You did keep a greedy one-laner on the play here. We still really even been the Goryos, but unfortunately, getting that second lane was a turn too late.
It happens. Goryo is a deck that plays very few lands. I think most lists play like 20 or 22 lands, something like that. So, Brian got a little bit unlucky there, but, that's magic.
And that is match for Hammertime being 3-0 right now. I think we said last on our broadcast here, we're having a little bit of resurgence, I can say, because we have Frank and Joel Craner just headstrong in this meta game, still trying to make the deck work.
Yeah, I mean, they do say, Hammer is pretty good into energy. You're pretty good into like Murktide. Obviously, you have some terrible matchups against the control decks, but overall, it's not a terrible choice going in. Brian looking very contemplative.
Yeah, Brian.
about this.
Yeah, Brian started just thinking like, what do I bring in versus Hammertime? Because it's definitely a deck you don't really want, you're not gonna prep for, and I'm not too sure exactly what is in the sideboard for most Goryo's deck, as I've seen you dabble a little bit, Matt, in Goryo. So as standard stock Goryo's list, what would you bring in versus the Hammertime deck?
So, Goryo's list generally plays some number of Wrath of the Skies in the sideboard,
Really?
which is very strong against Hammertime. That would be like the number one card I'd be thinking about bringing in. The rest of your deck is already set up pretty well to fight against Hammertime. You could probably take out some number of, if you're playing, say, like Thoughtseizes or something, you could take those out for the Wrath of the Skies. Joelle, I don't know how much she's played against Goryos, but this would be a matchup where the hate bearers of Hammertime seem pretty good. Your Sanctifier and Vex, I think they do play Sun Cleanser. So it'd be interesting. There's a little bit of mind game there where Joelle maybe should bring in Sun Cleansers to stop the Wrath of the Skies, but hard to say.
Yeah. So hopefully Joelle does bring us in. I did see that she was looking at a sideboard guide, so hopefully she does have those potentially. But also as well, does Gorgeous play temporary lockdown?
Goryo, some lists do. Some lists do. You can. It's a little bit of a nombo with your 2-drop creatures, but obviously if you need a sweeper, you need a sweeper, right? And temporary lockdown is one of the better early drop sweepers.
For sure. So it looks like players are out here doing their mulligans, and oops, Brian Wayne gonna be mulliganing once more. I mean, so looks like Brian is actually gonna be keeping his 7. Well, Joelle is, I think, also as well. Not too sure. Not sure what's actually in the hand. Looks like a land. I mean, I guess I do start on hammer is what, I guess, what's it called? Esper Sentinel? Does it really accrue that much value in this matchup? I'm not too sure.
This is so. Some hammer lists have been cutting Sentinel, so I don't know if Joelle would have it in this current list. Does look like she's keeping.
Yeah, so it looks like it is going to be a keep on Joelle's side.
Did she keep a? No, it looks like a 2-lander.
Well, we drew into an MDFC, so it's fine, but 2-1 Flourish Range from Brian Wayne here. Not too bad. We can play the MDFC tapped, I'm pretty sure. So we're going to fetch an end step, go down to 19. Is Brian on a Null Drifter? I'm not too sure what that color is card, but it kind of reminds me of the Null Drifter a little bit. For the brief
Probably
moment.
Ulamog.
Ulamog, okay, Ulamog, yeah, most likely Ulamog.
It does look like Joelle's hand is really slow in this matchup. She has like 2 or 3. Oh my god.
So we have Nicholas Archive finning a Atraxa. Seems pretty good.
Wow.
And we do have the Wrath in Skies that we did board in from the sideboard you didn't mention before.
Brian high rolling today.
That is wait, that is a Null Drifter in the hand. That is not a Ulamog.
Brian has Null Drift?
A Null Drifter is a bit absurd here. Is that a Null Drifter? Or no, or was that Emperor of Bones I mistakenly...
So that is an Emperor Bone.
Okay, so it's me Emperor of Bones. I think I might mistake Emperor of Bones as the art for Null Drifter for a second, because it made no sense to play it. With Emperor of Bones coming in, we can start... What's it called? Activating the ability to adapt. There we go. And basically have a copy, well, make it become a copy of Atraxa, if I'm correct.
Interesting that Brian didn't exile the Atraxa already, but I guess there's no reason to. You can just do it on the next turn when you can adapt. So Joelle really needs like a Solitude here. Otherwise, there's gonna be an Atraxa coming at her face next turn.
So it looks like we need Stormforge Mystic this turn and getting a Hammer with a Ornithopter play for turn, but it doesn't look like she has a Solitude in hand. It looks like also looks like 2 Hammers, another Stormforge Mystic, and another Ornithopter potentially. But so we're gonna be adapting the Emperor.
Oh, she does have the Solitude. That's a blowout.
Wow, so Solitude here being very, very good. Brian's only getting 2 life, going to go to 19, but Brian not even having a Atraxa in graveyard anymore really sucks. But we're going to put the Hedgemates out to surveil. Been a Wrath of the Skies and go. Now Joel's on the driver's seat here, where we're going to draw into an Esper Sentinel.
Okay.
But we also do have another 2 Hammers in hand, I'm pretty sure. But we have no way to equip it as of now.
It looks
so
like
most likely we're going to play that second Stoneforge Mystic.
Yeah, it looks like we just have another Stoneforge, bunch of hammers. The hand is a little awkward here. Needs to draw some good stuff. Brian needs... Kind of surprised Brian binned the Wrath of the Skies, but...
I think we have a Wrath in the Skies in hand, that's why. So I think because we did bin Wrath of the Skies, Joel's playing out the hand a little bit more. We're going to play the Esper Sentinel with the Stoneforge Mystic to first search up another equipment here. And I wonder what that equipment could be. Looks like we do see the Sanctifying Index in the board that we did talk about before, and we're going to get a Shadow Spear from that Stoneforge Mystic. But now we're going to draw on Brian's side. Do we have a second? It looks like we do have a 4th land here, so we can probably draft this guy's X equals 2, and it'll be pretty strong.
Yeah, Brian can just blow up the board. Joel does get to draw a card off the Sentinel.
So we go down to 16 here for Brian Wang here. We are going to cast that Wrath of the Skies X equals 2. So we're going to clear out the entire board here. Everything goes away. But unfortunately for Joel, we still have a hand to rebuild with. And we chop deck into a Springleaf Drum. So looks like you're probably going to put a drum into an Ornithopter.
It's not ideal. I believe Joel did forget the Esper Sentinel trigger.
Oh yeah, she did actually.
So Joel currently has no creatures to attack with.
So Brian Wang now in the driver's seat now. We have an Atraxa hand, but it looks like we have a way to bin it, so we need to pass and go here. Oh, no. So land and go.
So Brian is 2 lands away from just hard casting this Atraxa. Brian does have the green source in play, so... Okay, there's a Saga. That's a start.
But we also have double hammer in hand. We might be a little bit afraid for another Wrath of the Skies, so we're not going to play it out. There's no need to. And then go down to 15 for Brian Wang over here. So we are going to get another Sacior. And I think we're trying to find potentially a Goryos right now, or somewhere to bin this Atraxa from our hand. But
yeah, something like a Tainted Indulgence would be pretty good here.
But let's see, we're going to debate on that one. Actually, it looks like we do have our Goryos in hand, so if we have a way to potentially bend something in the future, we're going to keep it on top, though, and it looks like it is going to be a second Goryos.
Is that a pest control in his hand?
I'm not sure. We can try to look at the art real quick and see if it's a pest control. Actually, yeah, it looks exactly like a pest control in the hand here.
That is pretty good against Hammer as well. Brian with a lot of these cheap wraths.
We're gonna have Joelle. We pass the turn back to Joelle. She's gonna play out a singular Colossus Hammer for now and pass and leave up and let me end up make a construct. But it looks like we drew into a Solid 2, which is not that bad if you're on Brian's side. It is a potential clock you can have.
Does Brian have the 7th land for Atraxa? It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, if Brian has the 7 land for Atraxa here, that would be huge. But we're just gonna pass and go. With Joelle gonna be making that construct on end step here. Untapping, we'll have a Saga trigger on the stack now. It looks like we drew into another hammer.
Okay.
So,
Not ideal.
yeah, so we have no way to equip these hammers at instant speed, especially just for free as well. But we're gonna make a contract again before the search. And not too sure we're gonna search out Joelle here. Are we just gonna search that Lava Spray Boots?
Probably. Joel's got 3 hammers already. Has a Shadow Spear. There's Soul Guy. That's interesting.
Oh, Soul Guy Legend is very interesting here because now we have an ATV trigger, and it's a little bit hard now for Brian Wayne to even get a lot of the Goryos off, unless he does double Goryos targeting something.
Yeah, but this is a situation where Brian can start hard casting his threats. So Lantern probably not going to do too much from this point on.
Is that 4 hammers total? Can't really tell. I know there's 2 hammers in hand at least for Joelle, but no, it looks like oh, so we actually don't play out a hammer.
Okay, this pest control is going to go crazy.
Yeah, if we have the cast control edge, we're probably gonna play next turn. We're gonna play Solitude here. We're gonna do it on
Gain 7 life here.
on that contract potentially. Yeah, gain 7.
Yeah, it's got to be the construct.
So we're gonna go to 24. Yeah, so it looks like we do have a double Goryo on Brian's wing side, but pass go. Pest control here would be very huge, but we did get the
Drew the land.
Yeah,
So
we
this
drew
is
land.
this is very interesting. Whether or not you're supposed to pest control or just play the Atraxa here. I think you're actually just supposed to pest control here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to play the pest control here and start getting it with damage, because then everything on the board's gonna go away besides that Solitude and clear the path a little bit. But it looks like Joel is looking to sack the Soul Guy in response just to get those last 2 cards out. And then everything is now gone on Joel's side. And we're going to swing in for the 3 with the Solitude. Going up to 18 here on Brian Wang. Going down to 21 for Joel.
So I think that might have been another mistake. Joel did have the untapped construct and a Springleaf Drum. So instead of exiling Brian's graveyard, which had no creatures to reanimate,
Could've
she
drew a
could
card.
have drawn a card.
But we're going to play
Oh,
a Piercer Paladin
okay,
with top deck
okay.
afterwards. And yeah, Hammer.
Okay.
So trigger, we're going to draw that card.
Oh,
And we got
Saga's
another
good.
Saga.
Saga's good.
Definitely want to be here, but that Piercer Paladin being a turn too late here, sadly. But we still have the other hammer. So it looks like we did have 4 hammers out in hand at one point.
Yeah. So this will be interesting because Joel can suit up this Paladin, but Brian's going to be hard casting this Atraxa.
Yeah, so we get the, I'm not sure the name of it, but it's going to be the Surveil Land of those colors.
The Shattered Backstreets, yeah.
Shadowy Backstreets. There we go. So we have the man here, the Hardcast Atraxa here. Let's see, we have off the top, we're going to bend that Marsh Flats. We're going to untap and draw. Wait, what does Brian have in hand? So it looks like it still is the double Gorgios with a Atraxa, and we maybe drew another land here. So we're going to fetch with the Marsh Flats that we just drew, go down to 16. And let's see what we're going to get here. We're going to get the Swamp, and just like your Hardcast is a Atraxa as of right now. And let's see what the top 10 cards are going to be. I think ideally in this spot, you want probably draw into another Solitude? Well, not draw, reveal another Solitude?
I think here, because Joel no longer has Shadow Spear, the Shadow Spear has been destroyed, you kind of just want Ephemerate.
I see. So we force
There's the
Ephemerate,
Ephemerate.
Ulamog, Land, Titan Indulgence, Emperor Bones, Philology, another Emperor Bones, a Prismatic Ending, and a Marsh Flat. So we're going to take a Prismatic Ending, we're going to take an Ephemerate, we're going to take a Marsh Flat, and for the creature, what are we going to take? We're going to take a just like you take the Ulamog, right? Because if you can bin it, you can just get it back with Goryos. But most likely you're gonna Ephemerate here again on that track. So.
I mean, to be fair, Brian is what, 2 lands away from casting Ulamog?
Yeah, there's about 2 lands away because we did. I mean, what? It's 10 minute, right? 7 minute tracks are.
You exile half your library.
Brian here having to explain to Joel what the cards do because Brian's playing with an all Japanese Goryo's deck. So.
Brian's got some nice cards in his deck, I will say.
Oh yeah, Brian has a lot of nice cards. Every deck that Brian plays always will have some of the nicest cards you see in Magic history. But we're gonna swing with the Solitude here. No blocks on Joel's side, so we're gonna go down to 18. Well, Brian go down to 19 here.
So there is an argument to just Ephemerate right now. Yeah. While
So
Joel's tapped out.
we're gonna Ephemerate the Solitude. Get rid of that.
Because if Joel is playing the protection spell,
Surge of Salvation.
Surge of Salvation in the deck. So Surge of Salvation would be really good if Brian had if Brian tried to go for the Ephemerate, because Joel can just protect it, make a construct, equip everything to the Paladin and get in.
So it looks like we drew another land here for Joel. Joel's flooding a little bit here. Wow, we're gonna deny the Ephemerate cast. And looks like we're probably just gonna swing here. We're at 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. You're gonna bring Joel down to 10. Oh, we're gonna go up to 29 for Brian.
Yeah, this game is probably done at this point. Not much Joel can do in the face of this Atraxa.
Yeah, I mean, what is the out potentially for Joel here? But oh yeah, I forgot about the Prismatic, and he's gonna take out the other Hammertime, other Colossus Hammer here. So we have, this is the last hammer in the deck. Well, last hammer as of right now. And if that gets taken out, then the game is just not really comebackable.
No, I think Joel's only out there was to find an Ink Moth and trade with the Atraxa, trade the Ink Moth with the Atraxa, and then find another Ink Moth the next turn. Joel needed like a 2-turn window there.
It looks like we are going to be Tinking, Indulgencing, discarding most likely that Ulamog, which we are.
Yeah, seems reasonable.
And then, yeah, Joel's going to scoop that one up, and Brian Wayne's going to take game number 2 here. So, Brian Wayne having all the answers, having the best control, having the Wrath of the Skies, a Solitude, 2 hard casts. This is enough for Joel here, enough versus Joel here. Well,
I mean, if I'm not doing anything.
Joel unfortunately didn't get any way to equip all those hammers the entire time.
Yeah, her hand she kept was a little bit speculative with all the Stoneforge Mystics. But really, I think that game came down to Brian having the 2 Wraths, the Wrath of the Sky and the Pest Control. Blowing Joel out like that, oof.
Very strong cards in those decks. But also, dude, Joel missed like what, 1 potential draw trigger, maybe 2 that game?
Joel could have drawn 2 extra cards. There was a Sentinel trigger and could have cycled the Soul Guide Lantern. But
Yes.
I gotta say, even with those 2 draws, with Brian's hand, I don't think that was gonna get there.
Unfortunately, here, but now Joel's gonna be able to play, which I think where you want it. That's where you want to be in this game. I think being a turn faster than Goryo's could make the difference.
I think the main thing is that, depending on your hand texture, you can go for a turn 1 Saga against Goryo's, and then your Saga will trigger on your turn 3, in which case the Goryo's has not had a chance at Goryo's yet, and you can go grab the Soul Guide Lantern to shut it down. That is certainly one way this could play out.
It's like Joel is gonna be mulliganing down the 6th gear. A little more aggressive here. Brian, we're thinking about our hand a little bit more. Ideally, you want to be having a way to be able to discard any of the Atraxas or anything you have in hand, or maybe even having your Goryos.
It seems like Brian's keeping.
Yeah, it looks like Brian's content with his hand. So probably the ideal sort of turn 1 to turn 2 potential creature. We'll get really lucky with the Surveillance. Turn 3 maybe at the fastest. But Joel going down the 6 here. And sometimes one of those decks that you do mulligan kind of aggressively with. But you also don't want to have the worst start because if you're too slow, then you're probably gonna get outpaced by Goryo eventually.
Yeah, Goryo's is a deck that will eventually win in the long game. So Hammer's got to come out swinging hard.
Joel debating on potentially 2 cards here. Looks like a Saga and something else to bin. But tough decision here because winning here locks you in for top 8. So essentially it's a win-in for both players here.
I was
Joel's,
thinking about this. I wonder if Joel's missing white mana.
that might be it, but it looks like we're gonna. Oh, it's really hard. Let's try to take a look a bit more at how the hand is. So it looks like a Hammertime in the hand. Looks like we have Saga, but we are just gonna bin it back anyway. Going to go down to 5 here. So now the hand has to be almost perfect to win by turn 3 at this point.
I mean, never say never, but
Very unlikely.
Yeah, very unlikely against Goryo's. Goryo's is gonna have some interaction there. They're gonna have the Solitudes, Prismatic Endings, Wrath of the Skies.
Yeah, I guess ideally on Joel's side, you probably want to have that Cigar's a turn number 1, since most of the time turn number 1 you're not really doing much. Except for me probably playing a Giver, a String Drum, or even like Esper Sentinel. But ideally, I think you probably want that 8 out. That can probably help you in that situation you had last game where you just drew into 4 hammers naturally, and this can't do much, but looks like we are going to see that Cigar's aid. With Urza Saga, double aid, there's a Saga Ornithopter. Looks like we do have white mana Solitude, and I'm not too sure the one is, but the 2 in the bin is going to be a Saga and let's see, so that is not sure what that card is. But we're gonna bin a. Looks like we're debating between the Ornithopter. Down to 5 is sort of because this hand looks pretty damn good if you're Joel.
Looks solid. Brian's hand actually looks full of lands. There's like a
Really?
Goryo's in there. There's a Consign, I think, and a Frog. So Brian's hand is a little bit mopey aside from the Frog, it looks like.
So like both players are now ready. We're gonna play our MDFC, take 3 and get that Sigardo's aid, which is where you want to be on Joel's end. Being able to cast everything at instant speed. Or sorry, yeah, basically instant speed here, and equipping on ATV is very important on this deck to get the ball rolling. But it looks like a completely Delta pass. Looks like Brian might be banking on a Surveillant to get him there. Also looks like the Emperor Bones maybe in the graveyard or in the hand. But we're gonna have there's a Saga come out. We did draw into that Soul Guide Lantern, which we're going to be playing right now on turn number 2.
So the question is, does Joel have a creature?
I'm not too sure. It looks like we might need double white because it might be a Paladin in the hand potentially. But also as well, not having double white is pretty rough. I think this is the only 2 lands. But we're going to be surveilling with the Shadowy Backstreet here. So it looks like we do have a Ulamog in the hand for Brian. Can you discard that? And we're going to discard a Thoughtseize here. Surveil away a Thoughtseize. And we'll play out that island. And we're going to play a Psychic Frog, which is one of the many win cons that Goryo's does have.
So if Joel has Solitude Paladin, I guess you draw a card and you see what you get.
It looks like we did get a land.
Interesting. This does kind of incentivize Joel to just pitch Solitude here.
Yeah, because if you just pitch Solitude here, you're going to maybe force Brian to start discarding.
Brian does have the Fallout Frog, so pitching Solitude is not the greatest here, but
Yeah. With our perfect information, we're gonna probably want to force Brian to discard what he has in hand here before anything can happen, but we're actually gonna be passing here. Looks like we're doing
So-
2 Wrath of the Skies as well for Brian.
oh, did Brian draw Wrath of the Skies?
Yes.
That's devastating, actually. That might just be game
Potentially.
if he wraths for 1 here.
Yeah, so we are gonna be wrathing for 1. Joel not happy with that, so looks like we might actually have to be Solitude pitching. It looks like a Cigar Day in the hand actually, so Solitude pitch on the Frog, maybe force out the discard. where we're just actually gonna pop the lantern right now. And the Saga is also gone.
Yeah, it's artifact creature enchantment.
Oh, Joel was not aware that Wrath of the Skies blows up
If I made a
enchantments.
construct, it would just die too, so.
Ooh, so Joel's thought process got a little bit messed up there. I mean, not making a contract doesn't change anything here, but maybe Joel fell down the wrong path of thinking here because now we're gonna solitude. We're gonna solitude the frog. Now we're not gonna discard.
GG.
So we're gonna gain a life here for Brian. Usually that Brian didn't choose to discard anything there at all. And
There's not really an art. I don't think Brian needs to because Brian has the follow-up frog. If Brian needs to discard, you can always discard with the second frog.
oh, we drew into another Wrath of the Skies as well. So this game looks, don't want to call it, but this game looks pretty in control here for Brian. We're gonna play. We top deck to a lane here for Joel. We're gonna play it out here, but this might be lights out. That Molda 5 is pretty rough here.
The mold of 5 was rough, but if you want to know why Hammertime died out as a deck,
Wrath of the Skies.
Wrath of the Skies.
Wrath of the Skies absolutely murdered that deck existing. Looks like we're gonna have the Emperor Bones come in. We're gonna discard the Ulamog.
Discard trip.
Yeah, discard Ulamog to the Emperor Bones. Get a counter on that frog. We can go to combat now. We can adapt this by fetching. And we're gonna have a what's the annihilator for this one?
So Ulamog is going to see itself
Uh-huh.
in exile. So Ulamog is going to come in with 10 counters, Annihilator 10.
Oh, so
I'm-
essentially game.
I believe this is lethal.
Yes.
I believe this is lethal.
Because if we just discard the hand here from
Alright, so what happens now?
So this is gonna come in with 10 counters,
Brian explaining what is happening.
and then I'm swinging for lethal.
Got it.
Yeah, so Brian explained what's happening here. We discard the hand to the second frog for lethal, and Brian Wing goes to 4-0 here. Taking the win versus Hammertime here. Joel, unfortunately, could not, on a mold of 5, just could not get there.